where the wild winds run, where the skies stretch wide and kiss the sun. The sagebrush whispers, the rivers hum. This land's a story just begun. Wyoming calls, where the heart beats free. Mountains rise and dreams run deep. Past the borders, past the sign, there's a world alive beyond the fence line. Boots hit gravel and the prairie sings with every hoofbeat. The frontier rings from ranchers' hands to miners' veins. The spirit of the West remains. Wyoming calls, where the heart beats free. Mountains rise and dreams run deep. Past the borders, past the sign, there's a world alive beyond the fence line. So come ride with me through the dust and time. Find the soul of Wyoming beyond the fence line, beyond the fence beyond the fence line, beyond the fence
Wyoming Beyond the Fence Line, where we step past the headlines and into the truth. This show isn't about left or right, it's about what's real in Wyoming, across the country, and around the world. No spin, no talking points, just facts, context, and honest conversation. If you're tired of being managed instead of informed, you're in the right place. Let's go beyond the fence line and
Hey, good morning, Wyoming. Happy February 17th. Excited to be with you here today. I've got a really full day today, so getting this show recorded and then headed out for the whole day. Going to be at LCCC for an agricultural summit and some things like that. So it's going to be a really fun day for me today. But I get this question a lot. You see me talk about the issues all the time. And most of you, if you follow even my short clips or my reels or my videos, you know where I stand on things. But I get this question a lot. And Joseph, how will you actually govern? We understand where you stand on the issues, but how will you actually govern? And I think there's a little bit of a story for me to tell there, to be honest, you guys, before I get into like the how I will govern. It's a journey that I've been on as I've been running for governor. And this journey has been one that I went into kind of with an open mind, you guys. I didn't have it all written down on a whiteboard like this is the journey, this is what we're going to take, this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to win, all these things. I went into this with kind of a blank slate and going, you know what? I want to see where the journey takes us, see where the people of Wyoming take us, and being open minded to that. And as many of you know, about 3.5 months ago, well, 4 months ago now, I actually left the major two party system after just sort of seeing this idea that goes on in these echo chambers where we lack objectivity, where we talk about principles, but then those principles are optional if it's something that we want. When we're not willing to have the conversations with people that don't agree with us, when we're stuck in these echo chambers with and the people, so many people are left on the outside of those things. We've created a complicated system of politics and parties and bureaucracy. And I set out on this journey to do this. A year ago, this month, this became our campaign slogan: be something different. I didn't really know where all that would take us, but it brought me outside of the major parties and the echo chambers on behalf of the people. And as a result of that, it also will allow me to govern for the people, to be the chief, not the chief executive. It was interesting when the governor was introduced in the legislature last week, he was introduced as His Excellency. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, gosh, if I get elected governor, I sure hope I'm going to ask them, please don't call me Your Excellency. Because really, the governor is the chief servant, right? The chief executive servant of the people. And that's how I view that position. And while that position is perhaps limited in scope and power, that position has a big hammer that it yields, right? A big voice that can guide and lead the state. And so, how will I, Joseph, what would it be like if you're governor? Well, I'm going to have those conversations that people aren't having right now. I'm going to be objective about things. And guess what? I can tell you guys, I don't know everything about everything. I may not have all of the answers for everything that faces us in society and culture. And I'm okay with that. And honestly, politicians who have an answer for everything might not be completely telling you the truth. But I want to govern from that position where I can be teachable. This doesn't mean that while being teachable that I compromise my core principles, right? I'm not going to do that. Life, liberty, integrity, those core principles that make me who I am. I don't have to compromise those principles, but I can be teachable. I can learn. I can listen to both sides of the conversation. I can seek expert advice. I have many folks on my campaign team. They advise me in the areas that they have wisdom in, areas that maybe I don't have wisdom in. So being humble and being a leader. Most of you know that I'm a very faith forward candidate. I talk a lot about my faith, and for some of you, that's very concerning. I want to encourage you, go back and watch the episode I did. Is my faith a threat to your freedom? And I explain in that episode why that foundation is actually a great benefit to your freedom when that foundation is exercised correctly. So being a governor who can embody these principles. And you might say, Joseph, we hear this all the time from our elected officials, then we elect them, and then we get more of the same. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong to feel that way. In fact, I feel that way. Why do we keep electing people that say they're going to be something different, that they're going to actually do something different. And then they get into office and they do more of the same, just in a different way. They do more of the same and maybe they just package it differently. Well, part of why I believe that I can be that different kind of leader is because I've decided to not play in the echo chamber, the big major party echo chambers. They can't own me. They can't buy me. I can say things and not worry about, oh, gee, am I going to upset the people in the party? You know what? We need to stop being so worried about pleasing the party. And as leaders, we need to be more concerned with serving the people, listening to the people, honoring the people. And that's the kind of leader that you'll get if you get Joseph elected as governor. So I said, my faith will be in action. Yes, it will inform my policy. Yes, it informs my principles. But it's not a threat to your freedom. In fact, it's a help to your freedom because I respect you because of my faith. I believe that you are important, that your voice is important, even if we don't agree. That's faith in action. Family will be first. What does that mean? For me, if elected governor, family will be first. In fact, you can see on this wall behind me, I've got my three amazing kiddos. I'm so blessed. I want to see not band aids on my desk from the Wyoming legislature. I want to see solutions. Solutions or repealing of bureaucracy on my desk that will help support the family, getting government out of the way. And whether that's in education or healthcare or extracurricular activities, the government will get out of the way of those things so that family can thrive, that we can support the nuclear family, that we can encourage parents to be parents, to raise their kids, not have government raise their kids, which we've done. We've done a lot of this deferring of our personal responsibilities to government with the expectation that government is going to teach our kids about the things that are important. My perspective on family is that the family is this cornerstone of our culture, obviously, besides faith. Family is part of that foundation. And there has been such an assault. I mean, the cost of living is such an assault on the family because parents are tired and everybody's working long hours. It's become a great challenge for families. I will govern from the bottom up. I think it's interesting. You know how they switched the food pyramid recently? Well, government right now is like this, and it needs to be inverted so that the pyramid goes down and the people at the top are the people at the current bottom are actually the people at the top, and they're the most important. They're the teachers in our classrooms. They're the nurses and the physicians' aides and the EMTs in the ER. They're the people that are fixing our roads, keeping our power on. We've got to invert this, you guys, and that's the kind of governor I'll be. And I take that, and please know that this is not because I want to toot my own horn or pat myself on the back. But I think humility is important to be that chief servant leader. And by the way, I've spent most of my life in some aspect of service, be it public service or private service, in serving people or going on mission trips, because that's where my heart is. That's what I love. And lately, I'll be honest, I've been caught in some ways in the tyranny of the urgent. And you guys know it's hard to provide for a family right now. But I want to be that leader that you can talk to, that leader that will listen to you. And by the way, I've proven that I'll do that ever since I've started running for the office. You can pick up the phone and you can call me and I'll pick it up. If I can't pick it up, of course, leave a message. I'll call you back. Be available to you. Now, of course, I can't be all things to all men and I can't always be on the phone. I got to spend time working as well, take care of my family. Those things are important. So we have faith and we have family. And then freedom. Freedom that isn't a facade. Part of this journey, it has become so clear to me that most freedoms we have are permission based. And I would ask you this: if you have to get permission for your freedom. Is that freedom? But see, we've created such a massive bureaucratic machine, and it's no different. God bless our legislature. You know what? I see how hard those people work. They've got different ideas, and that shows in the the bills that are in the legislature, right? We've got like 25, 30 bills on how we fix property taxes instead of coming up with a simple solution that we can all agree on. But that's where good leadership comes in, right? A good leader says, here's a simple solution. Let's move forward with that. And by the way, I have simple solutions for those things. And you can go back and look at those episodes that I've done and those statements that I've made on how we solve some of those things. So, freedom not being a facade. But you see what's going on at the Capitol right now. And if you look at the budget and the things that we spend money on, and by the way, Thursday and Friday this week, I'm going to just I'm just going to talk to you guys about, you guys will not believe, well, you probably will believe what we spend money on as taxpayers, what the government. I was just talking to a gentleman last night, and he told me, Joseph, those little black couches in the Capitol, those are $40,000 couches. Now, please don't quote me on that. I haven't verified that fact. But the premise of that is truth. And it would not surprise you and I if we spent $40,000 on a couch in the Capitol. But you got to think about that. That is gross. That is disgusting. While families are having a hard time feeding themselves, our government has $40,000 couches sitting in the Capitol. And you might go, well, Joseph, it's for aesthetics and it looks nice and all of that and the renovation and things like that. But how necessary is that? Is that putting the people first? I don't think it is. I don't think it does. What kind of leader will I be? No more $40,000 couches, folks. I can promise you that. And if I see that stuff and the legislature won't get rid of it, believe me, I'll be telling you all about it from the governor's office. I will tell you about that stuff, and I will encourage you to call your legislative leaders to put a stop to this stuff. And of course, we see a lot of that battle going on right now in the legislature. It'll be interesting to see what comes out on the other side of this budget session. Whether we'll get some principled conservative ideas out or not. I have a gut feeling that we're going to see a lot of that stuff just kind of die on its way out, and it's not going to all go through. Let's hope that we get some good stuff going through. So with that, what kind of governor will I be? Well, I said faith in action, family first, freedom not as a facade, and then the last thing that I want to talk about before I get into vision and principles, life, liberty, and integrity, is this future thing. I see so much of what we do right now, and it's a temporary fix for tomorrow. Let's put a Band-Aid on it. Let's add another layer to it. Let's not fix the thing, because if we fix the thing, we'll lose the political talking point. But let's just throw another Band-Aid on it. Or let's put through a bunch of legislation to show that we're trying to do something, but we just can't get it done because of activist judges or the left or this or that. And we make all of these excuses about why we can't get things done. And some of those may be valid, don't get me wrong. But so much of what we do is so temporary that we're constantly chasing our tails every year when it comes to legislation. Because we're not thinking about, okay, well, how does this, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, right, you guys? How is this piece of legislation or this decision going to truly impact the future? That could be in the form of a regulation, a law, a subsidy, something that a board or a lobbyist pushes through. Could be in the form of taxes, fees. But the consequences are somewhat void, it seems. Or perhaps we know the consequences, but we're not willing to address them. I will be a governor who addresses consequences of decisions. And whether that's related to, obviously, a lot of things going on in Wyoming, whether we're talking about nuclear power or windmills or gravel pits or energy expansion or data centers. Let's talk about. Let's have the conversation. Let's lead. and going, what does this look like if we form the future like this? If we shape the future like this, what does it look like? What does Wyoming really want? I get the sense that a lot of people in Wyoming just want Wyoming to stay Wyoming. And you know what? If I'm being honest, I have no problem with that. This idea that we have to continuously conform to a moving and changing world. There are aspects of that that are probably true, that we probably should consider. But do we have to take it all in? Or can we live our quiet, peaceful lives and have a balanced budget and go about our days and our families and our lives without this continuous growth and bureaucratic interference? And let's add 35 data centers south of Cheyenne and see what happens. This constant moving, this constant moving. When the people of Wyoming, quite frankly, would probably say, slow down. We like the culture that we have. We like the way we are. We don't need to conform to everything that everyone else is doing. We have a balanced budget. We have some growth plans. Let's do what Wyoming is good at. That's how I'll govern. That's the kind of government that you get from me. My vision is very, very simple. I don't think it needs to be complicated. And that is repeal, replace, optimize, remove bureaucracy from our lives. Put government back in its corner. I know a lot of us talk about it. We see the fight happening right now in the legislature and getting it done. But that leadership, it makes a difference when the leadership supports those things from the top. Because we got to stop, the $10,000 hammer syndrome, the golden toilet syndrome that government has. It's so easy to spend other people's money. Got to stop doing that, guys. So my vision is simple. Lead. Bring the stakeholders together. Bring the people in the room that don't like to talk to each other and have a conversation with them. Bring them to the table and get some of these things done. Stop pretending to fix the things. Let's fix the things so that we don't have the talking points anymore. Let's win the battle of life. Let's win it. Let's do what it takes to win it. Instead of trying to find more ways to legislate it, or let's try this, or let's try that. I know it's hard to get some of that stuff passed. Constitutional amendments, things like that. It's tough to do. We've got to fight the fight. Look at liberty and integrity. What about integrity? There's a great question right now when it comes to integrity in our Capitol with the checks that were handed out all over the Capitol. And I happen to know it wasn't just on the House floor. I happen to know it was in hallways and other places as well. There's a great question. You know what? No one's going to be perfect, you guys. And I don't have that expectation. But thinking about the consequences of our actions and doing that. So I think from me, and I'm going to just wrap this up. This will be a little bit of a shorter show. I want you guys to ask me the hard questions. I want you guys to examine my character. It's not perfect. Now just ask my wife, right? My character's not perfect. But we need to look at who we're electing, whether it's me or someone else or your local leaders. We need to elect people who are willing to be something different, that are willing to have a different conversation. If we want more of the same, we'll just keep electing the way we elect people. We'll just keep doing what we've been doing. If we want to see something different out of our government, we've got to flip the political parties on their heads. We've got to remind them that the people are in control. The 200,000 or so, 180,000 or 200,000 or so people that you're watching this video, you don't vote in this state. You need to get out and vote. We need to hear your voice, all of you. We need you to come to the ballot box, and we need your voice to be heard. And you might say, well, Joseph, this stuff doesn't affect me. I don't want to get involved. I don't care. It's starting to affect you now. You've probably noticed that it's starting to affect you now. And it's not that everything coming out of the Capitol is bad or evil or anything like that. But we must question whether we're continuing to do this cycle, whether we are doing things the way that they need to be done, or if we're just stuck in the habit of the status quo and perhaps just repackaging things in a different way. So, with that, my objective would be to be that servant leader that you can look to. I don't have all the answers. I'll have the conversations that no one else is having. I'll be objective. I'll be teachable. You'll see my faith in action. I'll put family first. Freedom will not be a facade, it'll be something that we strive for. We'll get the barriers that bureaucracy has put in the way. And the future will be measured by the things that we do before we do them. If those principles of life, liberty, and integrity matter to you, I want to be that governor for you, Wyoming. So God bless you guys. This is just a little snippet, a look inside of what's in my heart right now. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Tomorrow I'll be talking about U.S. and world news. I gotta dive. We gotta dive into that once in a while. I know we're all focused on the Wyoming legislature, but boy, there's a lot of stuff. There's some good things, by the way. Yay! I actually get to talk about some good things tomorrow. There are some good things that I'll talk about tomorrow coming out of the Trump administration and things like that. Obviously, there are big shadows there too. There are some things that are not good that we'll absolutely talk about as well. And then Thursday and Friday, both shows, I'm just going to be going through the budget. And I'm going to tell you guys, hey, guess what? You're paying $40,000 for that couch. Now, again, don't quote me on that. That's just what I heard. I don't know if that's factual. I'm going to look into some of that stuff, though. But we're going to just go over, hey, did you know that we're paying this much for that and that much for this? It's all coming out of taxpayer dollars. You'd be surprised. Well, probably not surprised what we pay for. That'll be Thursday and Friday's show. A couple of weeks, the legislature will be behind us, and we'll be what? We'll be hitting the ground running into the midterms, right? It'll be a political race moving forward, and it's going to get quick and go fast and be busy after the legislative session's over. I'm guessing we'll probably see a lot more announcements that we'll be talking about. We've got a very big campaign announcement coming here in just about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Roughly in that area that I think you guys will be excited about. So with that, God bless you guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this show up and get on with the rest of my day. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
That's today's episode of Wyoming Beyond the Fence Line with Joseph Kibler, candidate for Wyoming Governor in 2026. If this mattered to you, share it, stay engaged, and keep asking hard questions. Be something different. Visit Joseph4wy.com for more information. That's today's episode of Wyoming Beyond the Fence Line with Joseph Kibler, candidate for Wyoming Governor in 2026. If this mattered to you, share it, stay engaged, and keep asking hard questions. Be something different. Visit Joseph4wy.com for more information.